Hello, welcome to my podcast, Yorkshire Property Partners. In this show, we'll be discussing the latest news and trends in the property market in the Yorkshire area. My name is Fiona Conway. I'm Director of Fiona Conway and Associates Mortgage Brokers based in Harrogate, and I am your host. Today, we're going to do things a little bit differently. I have the pleasure of introducing you to Ash Borland. Ash is my producer. And he has helped produce this show. He's going to be asking me questions about the property market. Hi, Ash. Thanks very much.
Hey, Fiona. I'm really excited to do this. This is like a shift around. And me and you, for people who listen to this, we were chatting about this in our sessions, producing the show, saying that we wanted to get you on the show to talk about mortgages and to talk about the property news around your expertise. So I'm going to hijack it, very much give you the floor. And go from there. So I'm very excited, and also the guests that you've had on so far have been amazing. So if they're listening to this, you're doing really well. I've absolutely loved it, and your guests are awesome. And I think I should move to Yorkshire at this rate.
Absolutely. I mean, you know about the property market. You might as well try and buy a house here.
Absolutely. Now I do, and I know all the people. I know all the people I need to contact.
Exactly.
So Fiona, I want to dive straight and ask you about the property market right now. What are you seeing right now in the property market as a mortgage broker, from a mortgage side of things? What are the kind of trends and kind of news and stuff that you're kind of noticing on the ground floor?
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing a crazy market right now. It's very different to what I've ever really noticed before. I used to see a market where people would be able to put cheeky offers in on properties, and try and come to a negotiation. Right now, that doesn't seem to be happening. A lot of people are queuing up to buy one house. So therefore, houses seem to be going for asking price, if not quite a lot more. There's a lot of disillusioned, unhappy clients right now because they're putting offers in on properties. They think they're in a good position, but their offers aren't being accepted. And I'm speaking to a lot of unhappy people, which isn't very nice. They're sad that their house of their dreams is being bought by somebody else.
That's an interesting point. I think I see that happen. I've heard a lot of people talk about that, and I know nobody is happy in that scenario. Is this something that, so you're saying that people aren't, they're going into these situations? Something I'd be interested to know, and I'm sure your listeners would, is how would you say somebody from the mortgage side of things gets themselves in the best possible position before they, when they go to these houses and these, I'm guessing, open houses and viewings and things like that, if to get to secure that house, if multiple bids are coming in, what can you do? What do you think people could do to get themselves in the best situation before they actually attend these viewings?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I've discussed in depth, as you'll know, with Tom Bird at Renton and Parr in one of the episodes, and also Claire and Louise at Prime Residential in York. They came up with with some really good ideas of how to make yourself stand out above anybody else when you're looking at properties. I think buyers need to be prepared. What was very clear was that buyers need to make sure they've got all their documentation in order. And, that's something that, we can help with at Fiona Conway and Associates. It's making sure that you've got your mortgage in principle, that, you can show that you're worthy to get a mortgage, that you've got your deposits, and that you've got your solicitor's details in place as well. I'm urging people to talk to us as soon as possible about getting those things together. Also, another thing that came up was people who are wanting to buy homes who are going to be in a chain don't seem to be putting their house up for sale until they found the property of their dreams. And then it's mad panic trying to then get somebody to buy their house. But sellers want to see that you already have an offer in place on the property that you're selling. So that's also causing a problem. There's just not much for sale because people aren't putting their properties up for sale until they find their dream home, but then it's too late. So it's causing, like I say, a lot of disappointment.
That's a real bottleneck isn't it? Really, when you think about it, it's like a chicken and the well, it's not a chicken. I remember my background used to be in a estate agency, and I used to remember and in mortgages a long time ago now, and I remember that this is chicken and egg, and it's not. There is a right way to do it, but it's hard when emotions are involved. So I can completely sympathize with those people, especially you don't want to be caught out, finding a house that no, selling your house, but then not finding a house you want. I get that fear, but it's a really hard one. So I thought you were going to carry on.
No, I think the thing is that people are thinking there's not much for sale, so I don't want to put my house up for sale until I find my dream home, because then I might be in a position where I've sold my property, but I'm struggling to find something else. But then everyone's thinking like that, so there aren't many properties for sale because everybody has the same mindset right now. So we were saying if everyone puts their houses up for sale who wants to move, then there's more stock.
Yeah, because how can you make a decision if you really don't know who is going to sell? Because if it's not on the market, but you're speaking to somebody down the pub or down the coffee shop or whatever, and they're going, "Oh, I'm going to sell my house. I just haven't found what we want yet." How can you make the decision? That's a very interesting point. So something that I'm quite interested to kind of ask you as a mortgage broker, especially in these wonderful areas that you cover, like the whole of Yorkshire and things like that, is how if this is such as the market is going as crazy as it sounds, how are mortgages, valuations, overpricing, how is that factoring in with people getting mortgages right now? Is that something that you're starting to see, or is it something that you think you might see in the future?
Yeah, I think that there do seem to be a few more down valuations than there used to be. I think property prices are high. They're higher than they've been in a long time, and they are continuing to rise. And I think valuers, understandably, are starting to feel a little bit nervous about that. People are putting offers in on properties that are above what the property is actually worth because they're so desperate to buy the house that they're putting in an offer and maybe not thinking about the consequences of that. If the house is not worth that, the valuer has to give their opinion. The lender needs to make sure that the property is worth what it's being bought for. So people are, I suppose, thinking more with their heart than their head and think, I really want this house. I know other people are going to put offers in, so I'll put in £30,000 above asking price. It's got to go to me. But then sometimes, and not in all cases, but sometimes we are then finding that the valuer is saying, no, it's not actually worth that, which then causes problems for the whole chain further on down the line, which,
I think it's important as well with that to, I always remember thinking about this with the valuers, and we can demonize them, but actually I remember I used to say this to people when I would talk to them and say, it's actually, they're looking out for you in the end of the day. Like they just don't want you to pay more for something that they're happy for you to pay a little bit more, but they don't want you to pay too much more because it's not a bad thing, but it's just interesting because I do know they're gatekeepers to this kind of house of cards as we see these property prices rising and this supply and demand issue. Then I was just interested to see how that works, and that's quite a cool point.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the valuers are protecting the lender, but also you as a seller in the future as well. Because if you wanted to buy if you buy over what the property's worth, it's going to affect you in the future as well when you're trying to sell. So they're trying to be fair by everybody, really.
So are you noticing, and obviously non-advice or anything like that, but just some kind of trends and things you're seeing within the mortgage market, are you seeing things, like not so much criteria changes, but things like loan to value shifts and stuff? Because obviously there's been a lot of news I've been seeing around, and I mean, I don't know much about it at all. I just keep seeing it as this because of there's so much over the last 2 years, the landscape has shifted completely with everything. It seems to be changing all the time. You're already talking about how the market has changed so much just in 2022 compared to what it was last year. Are you seeing things changing within the mortgage area? Like, are rates looking like they're going up? Are are like loan to values looking like you need more deposit? Like what is kind of the general consensus that you're kind of feeling right now?
Yeah, I think that there do seem to have been a few rate rises by the lenders. I am seeing that. Bank of England have increased the base rate, and therefore the lenders have to then do something to reflect that. So I am seeing that the rates do seem to be rising slightly. Nothing for anyone to be concerned about, but that does seem to be the case. I think in terms of loan to values and the percentage that people can borrow, that was really restricted during COVID, but now the lenders do seem to be a bit more open. We have got back to the 95% mortgages, which really had pretty much disappeared during COVID. So it seems to be that lenders are wanting to lend. They are doing what they can to lend, and it's a buoyant market. It's definitely a buoyant market. There's just not too much to buy. That's the problem.
I like that. It's interesting. The reason I asked that, because as you said, it was, I noticed that it was very it all tightened down during the initial parts of COVID, and so I've been out of the game for that and haven't seen it and haven't had a mortgage for recently for needed it. So, but I noticed that there was a change then, and it's nice to hear that it's starting to ease up a little bit and get a little bit more human. So, one thing I wanted to ask you about, and I'm sure that people listen to this and the people you've had on, and want to know a little bit about why you your experience of doing this show really, and why you've been doing it, because obviously we want to talk about what you're doing, but this is part of what you're doing, is this Yorkshire Property
Absolutely.
Partners. So I'd love to know, for the listeners, what was the kind of idea? Why have you set this up to share this information with people? What's kind of the thought process behind this specific podcast?
Yeah, I think I started my business just over 3 years ago now, and I felt so lucky that I seemed to get a lot of business from networking that I was doing and word of mouth. And then the client referrals picked up really quickly, which was fantastic. But I did feel like I was missing a bit of a trick because the social media side wasn't there. There wasn't really so much of a Fiona Conway and Associates presence. People were starting to hear, but not really seeing the company and what we do and the values of the company as well, I suppose. And one of the values for me is that working with other businesses. I think that's really important. Being able to recommend other businesses. Clients come to me and say, "Oh, I'm putting my house up for sale. I don't know who to do it with. I've had 3 valuations." And I can now be able to say, "Well, do you know what? I know a fantastic estate agent," or, "Oh, I need a survey doing." "Oh, well, don't worry about it. I've got a surveyor that I can recommend for you." And I really wanted to just get those companies out, on social media. So we're here to support each other at the end of the day. All local businesses are here, should be supporting each other. And that's exactly what I wanted to do. This is Fiona Conway and Associates. This is what we do. And look at these fantastic people that I know and recommend. I think that's really why I wanted to do it.
I love it. And it's a very interesting point, because I just wanted to bring that to light, because I think many people don't know that, and they'll just say, "Oh, this is a really cool show." I also think something that you've done really well with this, and how important was it to you to highlight this idea of the property ecosystem? Because as you say, we're talking about property news here, and it's really funny how you're talking about mortgage stuff, but it can't help but pull itself into surveyors, into estate agency. It just happens. So how linked do you feel the industry is as a whole, with the the estate agents to brokers to solicitors to surveyors? Do you think that's pretty linked?
Yeah, I think it is to a certain extent. But then I think if something goes wrong in the process, everyone's probably quite quick to, blame the solicitor, blame the mortgage broker, blame the surveyor, And at the end of the day, we are all working together. We all want the same thing. we want that client to move into that house. You know, we want them to find their dream home. It, you know, it works for us, it works for the client. Everybody is actually working towards that end goal. And I think we need to be mindful of that and remember that we should all be working together. We should be trying to help each other. We should be promoting each other. You know, just, and yeah, supporting each other, because we all want the same thing at the end of the day. We want that client to be happy, and we want that client to, you know, come back to us in the future. So
I love it. So I want to like go a little bit deeper into mortgages for a second and ask a little bit about people who are out there looking right now. What would be 3 things that you would say? We spoke a little bit about how, like, you know, how they can get themselves ready, and but I'd love to know kind of 3 things from you, from Fiona Conway, from Fiona Conway Associates. What would be 3 things you would be saying right now? I mean, things change, but right now I would have A, B, C in order. I would do X, Y, and Z, you know, like to get ready, to get myself in the best possible situation to buy that house. I know we've spoken about it a little bit, but I'd love to have actionable things for the listeners. What would be those 3 things that you would say?
Yeah.
And break them down as to why as well.
Yeah, if you own a property and you want to buy another property, put your house up for sale. You've got to put your house up for sale. Number 2 would be get your documents in order, get everything sorted. So we call them buyer's packs. We recommend you come and speak to us as soon as possible so we can get your buyer's pack together. So that would be, like I said, your proof of funds, your proof of deposit, and your solicitor's details. We can help you with all of that. I'd say the 3rd thing actually would be check your credit reports. I think that is so important, because there are things that are lurking on there that clients didn't really know about, or maybe thought, oh, it's not a big deal. And when you're then coming to look for your mortgage, it's better to try and deal with that early on than to find that amazing home. And we didn't know that there was an issue on the credit report, and then having to deal with it at that point. So I'd say check your credit files, make sure that it is as you say it, as you think it is. Let me have a look at it as well, as a second pair of eyes, to make sure that, you know, it is all as it should be. And then hopefully there should be no sort of disappointment during the mortgage process, because we can, you know, we know what we're dealing with straight away before you find that house.
I love that. Because that's something that I get asked a lot, and I've seen a lot as well. And I'd be interested if you said about credit report, because people often get their credit report and their credit score mixed up. What is the difference? For your face.
Yeah.
What is the difference? People listening, because I still get that. That's such a common thing. They're like, you know, they might ring you up and go, I've got a score of this. And you're like, yeah, that's not what I need.
Yeah, so the score is important. If I see a score, I've probably got a rough indication of what the credit report's going to look like. I'll ask for a credit report, and we do have links, you know, on the website to check my file at the bottom of my emails. People will log in and maybe take a screenshot of their score in the top corner. Yeah, that will give me an indication. It's helpful, but what I actually need to see is a full credit report, which will show all credit, open and closed accounts that you've had in the last 6 years. And it shows how you've maintained each of those accounts, if there's been any problems, when you opened them, when they were settled, have there been any mispayments. That's what I need to see, that detailed list of all the accounts from the last 6 years.
Okay, that makes it very different.
That's the difference. It's either a number or a full report.
Brilliant. Fiona, this has been great. I actually really enjoyed speaking to you.
Yeah, it's been fun doing it this way. Yeah, I like it.
And yeah, I'm gonna run it out now, the outro. But anything that you want to add, anything you want to say that it's your show at the end of the day, with anything you want to add before we run the show out?
I suppose, yeah, just people subscribe and listen to it. I'm super proud of this. You know, it's been you know, when I first started talking to you, I was like, right, I want social media presence. I don't know what I'm doing. You cracked it like straight away. And this was the best idea. I've loved doing it. The people who've been on the show have been fantastic, and it will continue. So yeah, just people listen to it, please. Please subscribe.
Subscribe, absolutely. You've got some amazing people coming up and had some amazing
I
people already.
know.
My wife is a listener of this show, which is a bit weird.
Amazing.
She loves
I
it.
follow her as well. All about the green.
She was hooked. She was hooked in after Mallard Holmes episode about the green living. So she was like,
She'd love that.
Yeah, she did. And to the point where so the people at Mallard Homes, they'll laugh at this because they listen to this, because it's like to the point where she was bugging me the whole time going, who is that developer? Who is that? We live in Cambridge. We have no idea. Who is that developer? I need to follow them on Instagram. I need to find. I was like, all right, fine. But it's already making waves. I think it's a really wonderful thing you're doing, and the guests you've had are incredible, and the class. So anyone listening to the standard of professionals is amazing. So I'm really, really, really proud.
Really are, yeah, fantastic companies. Super proud to have them all on board. It's great.
Amazing. All right, I'm going to run the outro now, but Fiona, you're a superstar, and guys, keep listening and subscribe.
Thank you.